At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio exposes the A-list actor who sabotaged his role. Corey Feldman says he was cast as Arnie Grape in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, until Johnny Depp allegedly told producers he didn't want to work with him, calling him a junkie. That role launched DiCaprio's career and earned him an Oscar nod. Now, Feldman reveals the betrayal that reshaped 3 Lives Forever. Chapter 1. Did Corey Feldman lose Leo's role? In 1993, What's Eating Gilbert Grape quietly hit theaters under the direction of Lasse Hallström. It starred Johnny Depp as Gilbert, a small-town young man burdened with caring for his family, and a then-unknown Leonardo DiCaprio as his mentally disabled younger brother, Arnie. The film became a critical darling, with DiCaprio's raw, transformative performance earning him his very first Oscar nomination at just 19 years old. It marked the beginning of a legendary career, but according to a shocking revelation, that career-defining role wasn't originally meant for him. Corey Feldman, the 80s icon best known for The Goonies and Stand By Me, recently broke his silence. Speaking on Billy Corgan's podcast, The Magnificent Others, Feldman claimed that he was originally cast as Arnie Grape, the role that catapulted DiCaprio to stardom. "I was actually cast to play Leonardo DiCaprio's role," Feldman stated plainly, but what followed, Feldman says, changed the trajectory of his career, and he's never been able to let it go. He's never even watched the film. The bitterness still lingers after 3 decades. According to Feldman, the person responsible for his removal wasn't a casting director, a studio executive, or even the film's director. It was Johnny Depp himself. Feldman alleges that after Depp signed onto the film, he quietly whispered into the producer's ears that he didn't want to work with Feldman, and the reason? He said I was a junkie and he didn't work with junkies. The words stung, not just because they cost Feldman a pivotal role, but because, by his account, they weren't true. Feldman pushed back hard on the label, explaining that by the time he was up for the film, he had already turned his life around. "I had just gotten sober. I had just turned my life around," Feldman insisted. He had completed 10 months in rehab and was actively trying to rebuild his reputation. In fact, during that same period, he was trying to help his close friend, River Phoenix, who was battling his own demons with addiction. That connection would later make the situation even more painful. Feldman pointed out that River Phoenix's tragic final night alive occurred at none other than Depp's own club, the Viper Room, on Halloween 1993. As you can imagine, there was a thorn in the side on that one, Feldman reflected somberly. The irony wasn't lost on him. While he was being branded as untrustworthy and discarded from a film role, others around Depp were quietly spiraling, and yet it was Feldman who paid the price. Years later, Feldman still wonders what might have been. Had I not been pushed out and done that role, who knows what would have happened? It's impossible not to think about how differently his career, and maybe even his life, could have turned out. Still, Feldman maintains a quiet resilience despite the bitterness. "There was a bitter tea there, but you don't hang on those. You get past them." A bitter tea indeed, and one that still leaves an aftertaste decades later. Chapter 2. Was Depp behind Feldman's career collapse? The story Corey Feldman tells is more than about a lost role. It's about power. According to Feldman, when What's Eating Gilbert Grape was first casting, he had already secured the part of Arnie Grape. It was his chance for redemption, a breakthrough that could put his troubled past behind him. But everything changed the moment Johnny Depp entered the project. By Feldman's account, Depp was offered the lead role of Gilbert after Feldman had already been cast. But behind closed doors, Depp wasn't happy. Feldman claims Depp used his influence to sway the producer's opinion, quietly but decisively. He whispered into the producer's ears he wasn't fond of me, Feldman revealed, and just like that, Feldman was out. The alleged reason, Depp reportedly told producers Feldman was a junkie, unreliable, a risk, not someone he wanted on set. The accusation cut deep. Feldman wasn't denying his past struggles. He had battled addiction for years, much of it tied to the sexual abuse he endured as a child actor in Hollywood. Drugs had been an escape, but by the time he auditioned for Gilbert Grape, Feldman says, he'd turned a corner. "I had just gotten sober. I had just turned my life around," he insisted. He'd spent 10 months in rehab, fought his demons, and wanted nothing more than a second chance. For Feldman, this role wasn't just another acting gig, it was a shot at rebuilding his life. But according to him, Depp didn't believe in that transformation. And worse, Depp's private comments to producers, whether true or not, carried weight. Depp, already an established star in the early 90s, wielded influence few others could match. There's a cruel irony in the story, Feldman tells. While Depp was allegedly warning producers about Feldman's addiction history, Depp was regularly seen partying with River Phoenix, another young actor fighting addiction. Phoenix's tragic overdose later that same year would happen inside Depp's own nightclub, the infamous Viper Room. Was Depp judging me for struggles he was surrounded by? Feldman asks, his voice laced with quiet frustration. It's a haunting parallel. The same circle, the same scene, yet two very different outcomes. One labeled irredeemable, the other protected. In the power hierarchy of 90s Hollywood, Johnny Depp was near the top. He had the clout to make, or quietly break decisions behind the scenes. For Feldman, it wasn't just a lost role. It was a career trajectory forever altered by a whisper. Feldman describes the experience as career sabotage masquerading as professional concern. Whether Depp genuinely questioned Feldman's reliability or simply didn't want him on set, the result was the same. Without the role, Feldman's comeback never materialized, and while DiCaprio's star skyrocketed, Feldman found himself relegated to low-budget projects, his dreams of critical acclaim slipping further away. In the end, Feldman's story reveals more than just about a casting decision. It's a glimpse into the quiet, often unseen power dynamics that govern Hollywood. Sometimes a whisper can change everything. Chapter 3. Did this role make Leo famous? Leonardo DiCaprio's performance as Arnie Grape wasn't just good, it was transformative. Critics called it genius, praising his fearless portrayal of a mentally disabled teenager in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. The film may have centered on Johnny Depp's character, but it was DiCaprio who stole every scene. His raw, authentic performance earned him his first Academy Award nomination at just 19. Practically overnight, Leonardo DiCaprio went from rising star to Hollywood's most sought-after young actor. But while DiCaprio's career soared, Corey Feldman watched from the sidelines. And according to him, that wasn't fate. It was the direct result of being pushed out of the very role that launched Leo's ascent. That role could have been a career reset for me, Feldman reflected years later, his voice heavy with what-ifs. For Feldman, Arnie Grape wasn't just another part. It was a chance to prove he could carry a dramatic, challenging role. A chance to show the industry and himself that he'd grown beyond the troubled teen image that had followed him through the late 80s. Instead, after his alleged removal from the film, Feldman's career went in a very different direction. As DiCaprio moved from Gilbert Grape to The Basketball Diaries, from Romeo plus Juliet to Titanic, Feldman's path diverged sharply. He found himself relegated to low-budget films, voice acting, and occasional television appearances. The gap between them, once so narrow, widened with each passing year. But Feldman's near misses didn't end with Gilbert Grape. In a twist that stung even more, he revealed he'd also been considered for another iconic DiCaprio role, Jack Dawson in Titanic. Ironically, just a couple years later, I also was up for Titanic, Feldman shared. He admits he wasn't as close to landing that part as he had been with Gilbert Grape, but still, the pattern felt impossible to ignore. There was a double banger with Leo, he said with a half laugh, masking the deeper disappointment. And it wasn't just DiCaprio roles slipping through his fingers. Feldman also auditioned for Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings, another career-defining role that ultimately went to his childhood co-star Sean Astin. I heard I got pretty close, but I couldn't gain the weight, Feldman admitted candidly. It was yet another role that could have changed everything, but didn't. Looking back, Feldman's story is more than one missed opportunity. It's a haunting example of how a single lost role can ripple through an entire career. Every casting decision creates a fork in the road. Some paths lead to Oscar stages and global fame, while others drift quietly into obscurity. Hollywood is full of near misses, Feldman reflected. But some, like this, leave scars. For Feldman, the role that made Leo left him behind, and that wound, no matter how much time passes, still lingers beneath the surface. Chapter 4. Did Leo's rejections build other careers? While Corey Feldman's story paints a picture of roles lost to backdoor whispers, there's another side to the Hollywood casting game, one where Leonardo DiCaprio's decisions didn't sabotage careers, but indirectly created them, and no one has been more honest about that than Christian Bale. In a candid interview with GQ, Bale didn't shy away from acknowledging the invisible shadow DiCaprio casts over his career. Every role I've gotten, Leo passed on first, Bale admitted with a wry smile. From American Psycho to Titanic to a string of late 90s and early 2000s projects, Bale revealed that DiCaprio was the first call casting directors made. If DiCaprio wasn't interested or turned it down, then and only then did the role become available to actors like Bale. It's a stunning admission, not born of bitterness, but realism. Bale spoke openly about the hierarchy that exists for actors of his generation. I couldn't do what he does. I "I don't want that exposure," he added, emphasizing that DiCaprio's fame came with pressures Bale never envied. This unspoken DiCaprio clause didn't just affect Bale. Many actors from that era have quietly acknowledged that if Leonardo wasn't attached to a project, it opened the door for them. DiCaprio's unofficial first right of refusal shaped careers, not by actively taking roles away, but by choosing what not to do. And yet, DiCaprio's influence stretched far beyond casting decisions. His presence behind the scenes could change the course of a film entirely. Take Gangs of New York, for example. When Martin Scorsese wanted Daniel Day-Lewis to play the fearsome Bill the Butcher, Day-Lewis was retired, living quietly in Europe, but it was DiCaprio who convinced Day-Lewis to come back. Their first meeting wasn't exactly typical. DiCaprio went to Day-Lewis's brownstone, nervously knocked on the door. Day-Lewis opened it and simply said, "Shall we walk?" The two walked through Central Park in silence for nearly 10 minutes before finally sitting down on a bench where they spoke not about contracts or paychecks, but about the craft of acting. That conversation reignited Day-Lewis's passion, ultimately bringing him back to the screen for one of his most iconic performances. He came back for the role. DiCaprio later recalled, "It was surreal watching him transform." But DiCaprio's sway didn't end there. Years later, when Steven Spielberg was struggling to convince Day-Lewis to take on the role of Abraham Lincoln, it was DiCaprio's recommendation that helped tip the scales. Spielberg himself credited DiCaprio with helping bring Day-Lewis on board, a move that would earn Day-Lewis his third Oscar. In a town notorious for backstabbing and sabotage, DiCaprio's influence was quietly opening doors for others, not closing them. It's an ironic contrast to the allegations Feldman made against Johnny Depp, one actor allegedly undermining a colleague while another was helping fellow performers rise. And yet, even in these stories of mentorship and opportunity, a paradox remains. Whether it's Christian Bale, Daniel Day-Lewis, or a long list of other actors, their greatest roles all trace back to a role Leonardo DiCaprio didn't take. In the end, whether DiCaprio stepped aside or stepped in, his choices, like whispers in a producer's ear, shaped Hollywood's biggest careers in ways most audiences will never see. Chapter 5. Is Hollywood success really about talent? At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio stands at the pinnacle of an extraordinary career. But when asked recently about Corey Feldman's claim that Johnny Depp sabotaged Feldman's chance at What's Eating Gilbert Grape, handing DiCaprio the role that changed everything, Leo didn't gloat or dismiss the story. He responded with quiet empathy. According to sources close to the actor, DiCaprio acknowledged the uncomfortable truth. There are power dynamics in casting that actors can't always see, he reportedly said. In other words, even the actors in the spotlight don't always control the game, and DiCaprio would know. Despite his superstar image, he too has been shaped by unseen forces. Take American Psycho, for example. Initially, DiCaprio was attached to play the infamous Patrick Bateman, but once his name was linked to the project, studio executives panicked. They feared his Titanic-sized teen fan base would clash with the film's dark, violent tone. The studio pushed out director Mary Harron in hopes of rebranding the film around DiCaprio. Eventually, DiCaprio withdrew under pressure, and Christian Bale stepped in, delivering the career-defining performance we know today. It's a stark reminder that even DiCaprio has watched roles slip away, victims of politics, marketing fears, and studio agendas. Sometimes, it's not about talent, it's about image, perception, timing. In recent years, DiCaprio has used his influence to reshape not just the roles he plays, but the stories he tells. While working on Killers of the Flower Moon, the original script positioned the FBI's investigation at the center, but DiCaprio felt something was missing. He pushed Martin Scorsese to shift the focus toward the Osage people themselves, their lives, their tragedies, their humanity. That decision transformed the entire film. DiCaprio wasn't just an actor anymore. He had become a creative partner, a moral voice within the production. As for Feldman's allegation, Johnny Depp has neither confirmed nor denied the claim. DiCaprio has never spoken directly about it, but his quiet acknowledgement of power dynamics feels telling. He understands how fragile a career can be, how the right phone call, the right whisper, the right favor can make or break an actor's future. In the end, Feldman's story is a cautionary tale, how one private opinion, spoken behind closed doors, can shape someone's destiny for decades. And DiCaprio's journey shows that even when roles are passed down, those decisions ripple outward, changing lives in ways no one can predict. As DiCaprio once reflected, every movie is a lottery ticket. Some change your life, some change others. In Hollywood's lottery, sometimes you win, sometimes your winning ticket goes to someone else. Click the next video on your screen to explore more hidden scandals, secret deals, and behind-the-scenes moves that changed movie history forever. Trust me, the next one's even darker. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories.